What is going on, guys? How's everybody out there in YouTube land? My YouTube, recently I did some videos, a series, 3 videos of my life in Jamaica. You know, the 20 plus years that I had a history there. And those videos kind of blew up. It's a little bit entertaining to me in a way, because man, it's probably a 70-30 mix. Probably 70% of the people agreed with me on what I said on those videos, and then the other 30% are the trolls that like to say that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I tried to run things there and I was disappointed and blah 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 blah. Anyway, those videos are kind of catching traction because everybody out there that's a YouTuber that talks about Jamaica, whether they're a tourist or whether they're native or whatever, always talk good about Jamaica. And I'm the only one out there that talks smack about Jamaica, because I think the truth has to be told. If there had been YouTube back in 2002 and I had done some research into living in Jamaica, I would have loved to run across my video that I put up, because nobody tells you about all of the horrible stuff that goes on. That being said, I'm going to move on to my next topic, because this is Life According to Bob, and these are all my experiences, and then sometimes just thoughts and observations of life according to Bob, and different things that either I'll have an epiphany or about, or I'll come to a realization about some type of situation, social situation, as it were, that affects my life, and I'm sure the lives of others. And so that's why I bring those videos across with my observations and stuff. This one specifically has to do with social media and AI and all the stuff that we have generally adopted. I'm not going to say adopted, because I've never adopted, and I probably never will, the AI generation. I don't see it going anywhere good. Not in the recent, not in the near future. Maybe, you know, decades down the road, it'll tighten up a little bit and it'll be a little better, and what the intended use for will kick in. But in between, I think there's going to be a lot of buffoonery going on with regard to AI. But the social media thing specifically is what I want to talk about. Not just social media, but everything that distracts us from having human interaction with each other. And I think I've touched on this on a couple of past videos, as far as like not having friends and why it's so difficult to meet friends, and what people think are friends because, you know, they're texting or they're sending them videos or Facebook pictures of them eating dinner somewhere or something. That's not social interaction. And it just has, our social interaction has degraded to the point where when people are lonely, especially if they don't have a life mate, a partner, a wife, a husband, friends, family, if they don't have that around them, and I made a specific video about that topic in my channel a couple of months ago, then you have nothing. I mean, you literally have nothing if you don't have any of those things. And it gets harder and harder to get those things nowadays. And I have a video about dating and how difficult it is in today's time to actually have a date, because everybody wants to be on a dating app. Everybody complains about dating apps, but yet they're there. And you know, the apprehension about giving contact information, you know, like you have a couple of chats back and forth on a dating app, and then you're like, hey, let's take this to a phone. Let's move this forward. And then usually the woman is like, oh, I'm not giving my number to a stranger. And I'm like, everybody's a stranger until they're not. That's a whole dedicated video that I have on my channel about dating. But more specifically, as I said, social interaction. It dawned on me, I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson video, and they were talking about loneliness, and in scientific terms, and the frontal lobe of your brain, and the prefrontal lobe, and how chemicals react to being how interaction with other people develop your brain, and how endorphins and things like that are released when you're around people, and then vice versa, how you can get in a funk and depressed and all that stuff, because it has to do with chemicals when you're not around people. And some of the things that they talked about with regard to my topic struck me very real. Like, I've always known this, and I always push back on it, but I started realizing when they started naming off of all these different things that we can do without social interaction, I'm just like, you know, like, if you started listing, and I'm going to list some of them I can think of the top of my head, but if you start thinking about all these different apps and all these different features that we have to make life easier, supposedly, make life more efficient, make life more productive, which I don't think it is, it excludes the person. And that began, in my mind, that began with teller machines, you know, back 30 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, with teller machines. You don't have to go into the bank to withdraw money. You can do that online. Or transfer money. You can do that online. You don't have to have a check anymore. Like the payments that I get from both the VA, Social Security, and on YouTube, I get those payments electronically. I never have to deposit a check. I don't have to go into the bank. I don't have to deal with the tellers. I don't have to open the door for the lady walking in before me. All of those little minute micro interactions with other humans disappear with just the teller machine, and all the advances, well, all the decline of our social interaction to make life easier or whatever. I'm not sure what, and I'm not sure that easier is quite the right word, because it simplifies to a certain extent, but it also detracts. So there's a positive, but I think the negative outweighs the positive on a lot of these things. And as I said, you know, with teller machines being the first, and then of course all the other stuff from back in the day when computers really took off with Windows 95, and going forward from that time, 1995, to where we're at, you know, 2026. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. You know, you can order a meal, you can order a dinner online, you can have it delivered to you. And the delivery guy will, you don't answer the door or whatever. They'll knock on the door and they'll take a picture of the food to prove that they delivered it. And then you open the door with nobody there and pick it up. Like, no social interaction. You didn't go to the restaurant, you didn't talk to the waitress, you didn't talk to the cashier. You know, you eliminated so many steps in that process that are integral to our existence, because we are social animals. But eliminating all of those steps, you know, even to the point of the driver, you never even talk to the driver. You know, hey, did the driver provide good service? Yeah. Do you want a tip? You know, blah, blah, blah. Hold on a second. You know, tipping the driver is done online. You don't even, like in the old days, you know, you catch a taxi and, you know, it's a $20 fare and you throw in $2 for a tip, and then he says thank you and you say you're welcome and you shake hands, or whatever the case is eliminated. So the driver that's delivering your food, no interaction. The driver who's delivering your package, Amazon, is delivering your package, no interaction. Take a picture and move about their business. UPS, all the delivery services just drop and leave. And little to no interaction. The mailman, people used to go out and greet the mailman. Don't do that anymore. A lot of people don't get mail anymore. Or if they do, it's limited. Mine is limited. I have maybe 1 or 2 letters that come in on a constant every month, and that's just a bill. It's not a letter from a person. And then when I do get that, I can pay it online. I get my power bill, you know, through the mail. My water bill. And yes, I could pay that online, but I prefer to go in and pay it in person because I can actually talk to the person at the water place, and you know, it makes me feel better to at least pay one of those bills. My power bill I pay online. My insurance, both my vehicle and my house insurance, is paid online. Like I never have, there's no insurance agent. You don't sit down with an insurance agent anymore and go over coverages and go over, you know, face to face. Travel agencies, same way. With Angoda, with, you know, flights.com and travel.com and all these different sites, you don't have a travel agent. You just do, you click and click and click. You don't even have a ticket anymore. It used to be that you would be able to get a ticket, like you know, when I was flying to Jamaica, I could like literally go to Air Jamaica, which is local here, go by there, talk to the lady behind the desk, and she's like, hey, you know, let me pay for a ticket, and then she hands me the ticket, and we have some communication, right? As I said, little micro interactions have been eliminated. Waymo has eliminated, not yet, has eliminated the interaction that you would have with Uber. Uber is getting to the point now, just like Airbnb, where they're a little highfalutin. Like you're not paying much more for a taxi than you would for an Uber. So it started out as a good idea, and then it's just declined over the years. Same as, you know, Airbnb. You know, I can get a hotel in Miami cheaper than I can get an Airbnb in a 20-mile square radius, you know. So the travel thing, and then the Uber thing, and then the Waymo cars that just are, you know, automated, like you just, and that kind of trips me out. I've never been in a Waymo, and I don't know that I would, because I have too much control issue over me, over my own stuff. And I don't know that I would be comfortable having an autonomous driver. I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird to me. So you're not having interaction with your driver going from point A to point B, however long that might be. I mean, theoretically, you could get in a Waymo car and, you know, travel from New York all the way to California, theoretically, and have absolutely no conversation whatsoever on a 3-day trip. The idea of apps out there, and the idea of things being streamlined or making life more convenient for people has eliminated the people. When the automated cash registers, when the automated payment machines came out at Home Depot and Walmart years ago, I pushed back on that. You know, so those machines cost $100,000, and they have 5 or 6 or 8 machines there. And so that would be the salary combined with, you know, 5 different cashiers that now they don't have to pay retirement to. They don't have to pay medical. They don't have to pay any of that stuff to. So that $100,000 is basically taken up within a year and a half of having a person there. And then everything after that is a profit for Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart. Everything beyond that initial payment for that machine is now profit for them, because it eliminates the person. It eliminated a job and a person, and that interaction that you would have with the cashier. So what I have to do now is I have to go out and work for my money, physically work for my money, get paid, walk into Walmart, spend 30 minutes getting my groceries into a basket or a buggy, walk around, go up to the cashier where I should be taken care of at that point and have my things bagged, and they've eliminated that. Now I have to work more. Now I have to be my own cashier, my own bagger, and they're not paying me to do that, and I'm not getting a discount. And then they just have to hire one employee to keep an eye on those 6 machines. And then if you don't want to do that, you can just order it. Well, you don't even have to do you don't even have to do that. You can just type in your order and then have it delivered to you, as I said before, and never have that human interaction ever again. In fact, one step further with Walmart, it just dawned on me. I had ordered something off of Walmart.com because they didn't have it in the store, so I had to order it online. And so now they have a locker at Walmart, a set of lockers. I don't know, there's 12 of them or whatever. And they give you a combination when your package is in the locker. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm excited. Let me go pick up my package. No human interaction. I pull up in my stall, I get out, I go inside of the store, I go to the locker, I look on my phone. I think it's actually a barcode. It's not even like a digital where you can touch a machine, let alone a human being, but touch a machine. It's a barcode, and you scan the barcode onto the locker, and boom, the door opens, and you grab your package and leave. Never talk to nobody. And it's a decline of our human nature to have everybody be in an island. You know, as they say, no man is an island, but our society is training us to be just that. Our society and technology is training us not to have any social interaction with each other. And it's a shame. And the examples that I gave are just a few. Obviously, there's many, many more than that. You know, when I order something off of Amazon, same way as I talked about the delivery truck and all that stuff, you know, there's no social interaction. I have a P.O. box, so I literally order off of Amazon. No social interaction. It gets delivered. No social interaction. It goes to my P.O. box. They send me an email and say, hey, you have a package here. You know, it's too big to fit into the box, so they always send me an email. No social interaction. They don't call, nothing. And then I go there and I open up my P.O. box, and if there's somebody behind the counter that recognizes me, they might say hi, and I might say hi, but that's it. And then I leave with my package, and we're done. And I don't know. It becomes this weird thing that lends training wheels to then beget no social interaction whatsoever. And something just popped in my brain that sort of in lines with that. I have a chainsaw, and probably 3 or 4 chains that I keep, and then when the 4th one finally goes bad, I take it to this place about 4 or 5 miles from me that actually will sharpen my chainsaw for $10, as opposed to buying a new one for $20. And so, yeah, it's half the price if they can sharpen it. And sometimes it's too dull to sharpen. You know, the edges have worn out and they can't sharpen it anymore. So they'll like, yeah, this one's garbage. And I'm like, okay, toss it. So I went in there 2 weeks ago today, and I've been there 3 different occasions, and they haven't called me. And they ask for my number, and I write my number down. They write the number down, and they don't call me. I think the first couple of times they gave it to me for free, and then the next time, because they didn't call me when they said they would, I ended up getting for half price. So instead of $10 for 2 of the chains, instead of 10 times 2 for 20, I only had to pay $5 for each chain. The one chain that I have in there, and the owner was there when I went there 2 weeks ago, and she's like, you know, and your name and number and all that stuff. I'm like, well, are you gonna call me? She's like, yeah, we'll call you. And I was, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, we're sure. So I did a pinky promise with her, so that she will remember me. 2 days later, it's supposed to be done. They should have called me. People have given up on even the communication on the phone. Forget the interface, you know, like literally the interface with people. Even the phone has gone to the wayside, because on that store's website, they probably have an app. And if I join that app, or if I put that app on my phone, which I don't have room for more apps and more apps, it's another whole topic, then I probably would have got notification through the app that my chain is ready. 2 weeks later, that lady has not called me. Nobody in that store has called me 2 weeks later, as of today. Because this has gone away, and apparently this has gone away too, emails or text. I don't know, you know, I feel sorry for the next generation coming up. You know, the generation that is being born today or 5 years ago, a 5-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid. I feel sorry for that generation because they don't have what we had, what I had growing up. You know, when I was young, you couldn't get us to go in the house. My son was addicted to gaming. Like, he literally had a chair and his, you know, microphone and all that stuff, and he got addicted to gaming to the point where he would pee in bottles. Yes, I found yellow bottles hidden throughout his room. The bathroom was 50 feet away. But he wouldn't take the time to just get up because he was so addicted to this electronic thing, where he's chatting with people he's never met on his little microphone and doing all this gaming thing. And it was annoying. And so these kids, and that was many years ago, these kids growing up now aren't getting the interaction that I got. When we were my son's age, when he was doing the gaming, we were outside. We were riding motocross bicycles. We were riding skateboards. We were blowing up G.I. Joes with firecrackers and catching frogs and lizards, you know, and doing all this stuff. Like, we didn't want to come inside. We were fine with our friends and having fun and getting into mischief and stuff like that. That's just what we did. The street lights came on. Oh crap, I gotta go home now. Because if you didn't come home when the street lights came on, you were on punishment of some sort, restriction or something. So when those street lights came on, and you know what we used to do? We would take a BB gun or a wrist rocket, and we would try and break the light of the street light that was near our house. So we could say, oh, street light never came on. Yeah, I'm late, but sorry, street light never came on. So we would adhere to that rule, only so that we could have more social interaction. What I said on my other video about dating in today's time, where I can't get a female on the phone, not even talking about a date, you know, hey, let's go out to dinner, let's go to a park and chat on a bench somewhere, you know, let's do something proactive to move this forward. I can't even get one on a phone. But yet back in the day, the way you dated was you had social interaction. You met somebody at Walmart or Kmart at that time, or wherever you met them. You had a little chat and you're like, hey, let me get your number, maybe we can go out sometime. And then you talked on the phone briefly, but then you planned a date in person. Briefly on the phone, and then you plan a date. We're meeting in person, we're going to dinner, we're going to a movie, we're going to the park, we're going wherever we go, but it's real life, it's not an app. You know, as I said before, we're, you know, chatting and talking to the mailman, you know, the garbage man. I mean, like, people are social animals. Our construct and what we've built on this planet has to do with social interaction, used to. And everything that we did, whether we went to the store to buy groceries, like I said, with the cashier and the interaction that you had when you went to the bank, when you went to the gas station. One of my first jobs I ever had was at a gas station, where it was very proactive. So not only did I pump the gas, but while the gas was pumping, I washed their windshield, right, with the squeegee. And I checked their oil, you know, level and all that stuff. And part of that was sales, because we want to sell the oil or we want to sell the wiper fluid or whatever. But it was a service provided type of thing, and they would have their window rolled down and we would be chatting during that time. There was no swiping of a card. I can go to a gas station now and fill up my tank and never talk to anybody inside. Just swipe my card. Then we had one of those, you know, those machines with the carbon copy, you know, like I would take the card from the guy and put it in the machine and just swipe it, and then I would give them the carbon copy. Social interaction, talking, touching, understanding in some way they had a bad day or they're having a good day or whatever. There was just something basic that we didn't know was basic back then, because we took it for granted. You know, we took all that social interaction, as I said, those micro social interactions that we had, we took for granted. And it's disheartening in a lot of ways, because it leads back to the couple of videos about dating and communication and all that stuff that I've already posted on my channel. It all ties back to those videos. But this is the impetus. This is how it began with our technology and the Elon Musk and all the different social media empires that are trying to well, social media is an oxymoron anyway. There's nothing social about it. It's only media. Even to the point where, you know, you go on a YouTube channel like I did with my Jamaica videos, and people are calling me out in a way they would never do in person because you're anonymous. Doesn't matter. There's no empathy. There's no thought behind it. There's no, oh, let me put this in a way that I would talk to them if I were standing in front of them. There's none of that. And I hear on X and some of the other platforms that it's even worse, which is why I'm not on X. And I'm not on Instagram, because I don't want to get caught up in that buffoonery of negative vibe, for lack of a better term. That negative vibe serves nobody, and it is disintegrating our otherwise social environment that we used to have, that I grew up with. And the decline that started in 95, it began about 95 and has exponentially gotten worse and worse over the years, and I don't see it getting better. I see it getting worse. Look at the robotics that are out there now. You know, it's like, do I need a maid? No, I don't need a maid. I have a robot. Why would I need a maid? Why do I need a live human person to talk to? I have a robot. I mean, to say nothing of the AI generation, and I don't mean generation in age range. I mean, there are 50-year-old men interacting with a fake generated person. And I've seen the stories on 60 Minutes and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, Brittany is my, you know, go-to person, and I have discussion with her all the time. And he sits his computer at the dinner table and sets the table for her as if she's going to eat. The AI thing is so bizarre that you could have a connection, that you could think you have a connection with a fake, inanimate, not even an object, just a voice that's AI generated, that's not even a real voice, that the voice is generated, the script is generated. Everything that you say, she has a response to pump you up and make you feel good. And these people, these lonely guys, and there's women out there that have those too, are getting caught up in that. It's just a sad state. It's a sad state. I can't emphasize my, God, what's the word? I can't emphasize enough my dissatisfaction with the way things are going.